red cloak. In the forest, scary one. Stone gun. He's inside the forest. He's in the forest and he's hiding in the sky. 'Cause he's so...
After having danced for everybody so that everyone could see how much he loved Egyptian music, he decided that he would travel. Our hero was a good man. He had a thin, red-lipped smile upon his face, and he didn't care that there was a tall grey cloud in the sky above this castle. It was a huge castle with a square top. But he could see in the window the princess dressed all in pink and surrounded by knights with shining helmets upon their heads. But outside of the castle there was an angry old man. It was the king. The knights had thrown him out, and his daughter, the princess, was trapped inside of the castle. This man who loved to dance, this hero, knew that he would have to try and help, and as the king jogged up and down and moved his arms, a thin golden key that was hanging around his neck fell down onto the ground, and the hero picked it up. And he held it in his hand. He spoke. His voice was deep. Where does this open? Which door does it open? The king pulled at his long white beard and pushed his white moustache away from his cheeks and said, "It opens a tall brown door on the right-hand side of the castle that leads to the dungeons where there are dark cages, and in one of the cages there is a bear." The hero looked and said, "A bear? Well, perhaps I could let this bear out, and if I were to dress him up, then he would look like one of the knights, and perhaps he would fight for us." And sure enough, the hero went to the right-hand side of the castle, where there was a tall brown wooden door, and he opened it up with a golden key, and it creaked open, and down into the darkness of the castle he went, and he unlocked the bear. The bear at first was angry, but when it realised that it had a chance to get out of the dungeon and fight those knights that had locked it up, it quite readily put on a shining steel helmet and a breastplate and put on armour, and now it just looked like a very big shining knight. The hero watched as the bear lumbered out with its great sword in its hand, and it started to fight all of the knights. But there were too many of them. The princess shouted loud and long out of the castle window. A tree, a magical tree, suddenly sprang up, and on its roots it started to chase after all of the knights. The king ran this way and that, and he watched the bear, and he smiled, and he danced to think that he was going to get his castle back. And he ran after the tree, but the tree with its great prickled arms moved this way and that, and the king had to lie himself down at the base of the tree when all of the knights were chased away. The princess was pleased to be let out of the castle, and when she went over to her father, she looked and she saw that he had died. All of the excitement was too much for him, and he died. The hero tucked his fingers into his soft silk belt at the top of his old blue trousers. The king had been kind and the king had been helpful, and now he had set his daughter, the princess, free. The hero walked away knowing that she would become a queen, and the very best queen in this land. But the hero couldn't stop himself. He couldn't smile.
The hero wants to save the princess. The man wants to save the princess. The man went to save the princess on the horse. The horse is very fast. The princess is stuck inside the castle. He went through the forest with the trees. He had glasses, and the castle was a trap. It was filled with snakes and cages. The man on the horse went to get the princess, but the door was locked.
All around him he could see the shiny helmets of the strong knights as they stood outside of the castle. He knew that inside of this terrible castle there were dark black dungeons that were filled with hard golden cages. The castle was made of shiny, fat, heavy bricks. It was a tall, rectangular castle. There was a small pattern of squares at the top. The castle was stood in the middle of long, thin, golden grass. There was an old rusty clock at the top of the castle, and in one of the windows he could see a kind, long-haired princess, dressed all in pink.